Hello and welcome. So now we're going to take the line that we drew by hand, import it into Paint.net and colorize it. So the first thing we need to do is go and get that picture. Now I've already copied it from where I have it on my hard drive, so I'm just going to go and paste it into a new layer. There it is. The next step that we're going to do is clean it up. I'm going to take my magic wand and I'm going to select all the areas around it and hit Control X to clean out all of this gray area that I don't want. Okay, good. Now I'm going to clean this up, meaning I'm going to make sure the lines that I want to stay solid are solid. So for example, this right here has to be fixed. I'm going to make sure that there are no lines crisscrossing over and creating too much tension, like this choke point right here that I don't want. And I'm going to eliminate certain aspects of this picture, namely the whiskers, for now. Now we'll come back and fix these whiskers later, but for now I just want to make this image look nice and solid and clean. So I'll do that right now. Okay, so we've cleaned it up pretty well. We want to make sure that the body is nice and clean and clear. Poof is clear, the mane is clear, and the head. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to colorize the body. So to do that, we're going to make sure that the head, the body, the tail, all the legs are all connected. So we'll have to first cut a little channel in some of the areas. So right here, I'm gonna get rid of this line. Excuse me, need an eraser. I'm gonna get rid of that line like this, make it like that. Then I'm gonna go up to the head, which is right here. I'll just make a little hole right there. And then I'm gonna go over to the tail, right here. Make a little hole right there. Okay. Now when I select it, I get the entire body. So now what I'll do is I'm gonna hit add a new layer. Okay, I'm going to call layer 2 outline. I'm going to call layer 3 body color. We're not doing the mane, we're just doing the body at this point. So now in the body color layer, I'm going to take my fill, I'm going to take yellow, I'm going to make it a little bit darker than yellow, and I'm going to fill it in. It's kind of a mustard color. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush, I'm going to make it about a 30, and I'm going to darken this a little more, and I'm going to come around on the corners like this. And I'm going to shade everywhere where there's going to be sort of a shadowed area. So a little bit there, belly like this, like that, a little bit on the tail, a little bit on the face, but not that much. Maybe a little bit more here. And around here, like this. And then we'll do some on the head here. On the head here. A little bit on the top, a little on the ears. Okay? I'll shrink my paintbrush down a little bit now. I'll bring it down to about a 10. I'm going to zoom in on these front legs because there's been a little bit more detail here. And I'll take my line tool and I'll make a line that runs right along the edge of that leg, because I want to get this right. And I'll do this one over here, from there to there, run this just like that. Okay, I'll also shade his feet. You can kind of go with the toes too, like that. So shade the little U shapes around the toes, whoop, whoop, just like that. Okay. And maybe add a little bit here. Okay. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go to Effects, I'm going to go to Blur, and I'm going to go to Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to blur this until I like the way it looks. Right now it's blurred to a 5, not enough. Okay, I think about a 9 or so looks good, maybe an 8 even. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll keep it at about a 10, I think. Okay, good. So I like the way that looks. Now I'm going to select Body Color Layer, Duplicate. 1, 2, 3. Now I've got 4 body color layers. I'm going to take the top one, and I'm going to hit Merge Down Layer until I only have one. Now I've got a solid body color. So now, I'm going to take my Magic Wand tool, I'm going to go to my outline layer, and I'm going to select the main. Okay, I'm going to select an orange color for the main. So I'm on the outline layer. I don't want to be on the outline layer because those lines are going to blur my color. So I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to call this new layer that I just added Main. Okay, now I'm going to take my Fill tool and fill the main on the main level, on the main layer with orange. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit darker than orange. So I'm doing about an 87 on the darkness right here. You can see if it's still selected and I'm still using this tool, I can still adjust how dark it is, right? So let's say I do about, 87, 86. 86 is fine. Okay, now I take my paintbrush and I make this real dark, about 53. And I'm going to add some swirls and curly cues and things, just like this. Okay. Now I'm going to make it light, bring it all the way up, and then I'm going to go to the light, the tint bar, which is the S. I'm going to bring that down a little bit, so now it's about an 84 the other way. And I'm going to add little tiny highlights like this. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to go to Effects, I'm going to go to Distort, and I'm going to go use your Dent. Okay? So now you can dent this in a number of different ways to make it look how you want it to look. But I think that looks pretty good like that. Okay? Now bear in mind, you're going to lose this because of the way the dents kind of twist things around. But what you can do is you can fill that in, and I'll show you in a moment how that works. So right now I'm going to use a 200 on the scale, a 21 or a 22 on the refraction, a 16 or almost a 17 on the roughness, 32 to 33 on the tension, and 2 on the quality. Now I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to flip layer 5 below the main layer, and I'm going to adjust my orange so that it is back to that original 87, 86 color, and I'm going to fill. Okay? Now, I am going to close this main level off so I don't see the main level anymore, I only see layer 5. And I'm going to take my paintbrush and make it dark again, and I'm going to do darkness just on the outer edges of this thing. I don't want to make it too dark, okay? Just like that. Maybe, and I'll do the same thing over here. A little bit light on the inside like this. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Gaussian Blur, which is Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to blur this just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to duplicate layer 5 about 3 or 4 times. And now I'm going to take layer 5 and merge it back into itself so that I only have one layer 5. Now I'm going to add the main layer on top of layer 5, and I'm going to crunch it down. Now at this point, I'm going to take Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to reduce it to nothing, but then I'm going to bring it up a little bit, just about like that. Okay, about to 5. I'm going to rename this Main again. And now I've got a pretty good looking main. Now I need to fill in this little poof. And generally speaking, these little poofs are about the same color as the main. So the easy way to do this is to duplicate the main layer. Okay. I'm going to take one main layer and stick it below the outline layer. I have that layer selected, and I have the main still selected on that layer. I'm going to take my Move tool, and I'm going to move that second main layer over until it completely covers up this little tail poof right here. Now I'm going to switch to my outline layer, I'm going to take my magic wand tool. I'm going to select the inside of the tail, and I'm going to hit. Now I'm going to go back to the main layer that's below it, right here. Hit Control X. Now I delete this layer. I go back to the original main layer, and I hit Edit, Paste, or Control V. And there you have it. It's an easy way to get a texture moved from one area to another. Okay, so I like the way this lion looks. So I'm happy with the body color and the mane. So I'm going to condense those down into the outline. So now I've got one solid drawing of a lion. Now remember, the background is white. The ears and the eyes and the teeth, they look white, but they're actually transparent because there's nothing there. So we have to fill those in. Don't forget to do that. So I'm going to take my fill bucket, and I'm going to take white, and I'm going to fill the eyes, fill the other eye, fill the tooth, the other tooth, and then I'm going to switch to this pinkish color like this, and I'm going to fill the ears with that color. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I think these details are nice. The last step is to put the whiskers back on the cat. So now I'm going to take my paintbrush with about a black with about, let's make this about a 3. And I'm just going to extend whiskers off like this, straight line, and then bend and curve them like that. So this next one would go here, bend and curve, and the last one here like that. Okay, same on the other side. Okay, that looks pretty good. And there's your lion. Now we can also add a background. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to use my simple grass background. If you don't know how to make this, it's fairly easy. I have another tutorial on how to create this grass background, but you can use it for a lot of different things. Now I go back to my lion. I use my selection box. I select this lion, and I go Edit, Copy, and then I go here, Edit, Paste into new layer. Now I'm not going to expand my canvas because I can shrink this down anyway and make him fit in there. You'll notice he's kind of tilted. If you had a hill, you can make him sitting on the hill. In this case, we don't have that, so we can just tilt him the right way and leave him where he is. And there you have it, a simple lion. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for further drawings.